2024 meeting of the North Andover Planning Board. All right, so we have 4 members here. We have 2 members who will be participating remotely. So Jean, why don't you call roll and we'll see if we can get everybody on.
John Simons. Here. Eitan Goberg.
I'm here.
Gemma Wilkins. Here. Peter Boynton.
Peter, can you hear us?
Sean Kevelin.
Sean, can you hear us? Peter or Sean?
Sean,
Okay.
can you hear us?
No.
I think we just heard you.
He says no. No, I texted Sean. He said he cannot hear us.
Hear you guys, but there's a echo.
You want me to keep it unmuted? That's the problem.
Sure why, because all of ours are, like, we have all of our microphones on. I don't know whether that creates, they didn't see us.
Do you want me to join the meeting and put mine on?
You can. I think you'll get the same effect, though. I've always had to mute
Right, because you get the
through-
feedback.
through COVID.
But even if I mute my microphone, they still might be able to hear us, even
Try.
if. Is there a link? Is it in the?
In the meeting invite, yeah. That was just Sean, right?
I think so.
Can you still hear me, Sean?
Where? I'm sorry, Gene. Where is the in the invitation? Where is
Sean, try again.
Yep, can you hear me?
No.
Huh.
Gene, where do I find it? I see the invitation, but I don't see a link in there.
It's in your email. I'll forward
Oh,
it.
in that last email?
Yeah, the last email.
Okay.
Do you want me to send it again?
No, I have that. Let's try one thing. Let's see. Okay, can you guys hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
So, now if I mute myself. Yeah, I'm just gonna mute. Okay, can you guys hear now? If I turn this off, can you guys
No,
hear?
I can't hear you.
Oh wait, hold on. I did
But
something.
we heard him.
No, I did something wrong. I know what I did. All right, now can you hear? Can you guys hear that? No. So I muted the meeting. All right. All right. All right, you guys can hear me do this?
Yep, I can hear you, but you got an echo.
I know. See, it's the only thing that's working right now.
No, but it's the rest of us.
Maybe if you move the microphones a little bit further away, it's better, but that's not great. All right. Can we deal with that?
Sure.
Okay, if you come up with a better solution, let us.
All right, so we finished attendance, Peter Boynton? Sorry, John, I think you're the only one they hear.
What's
You're
that?
the only one they hear because I'm muted. If I unmute, it's doing more.
Oh, Peter, are you here? Can you say that you're here? Can we hear you? Peter's muted.
Sean's trying.
Sean, are you here?
I'm here.
Peter's muted.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for the record, Peter is here. He just needs to unmute. All right, why don't we get started and see how it goes? 350 Winthrop Avenue, DSM Realty. It's an application for site plan review special permit. Revision to approve site plan and special permit. Redevelopment consists of renovating the existing Kohl's tenant space to accommodate relocation of Market Basket. The vacated Market Basket tenant space will be renovated to accommodate Kohl's and approximately 17,000 square hundred
Can you
feet.
hear me now?
Improvement includes parking lot upgrades, traffic circulation, increased landscape area, upgrades to existing stormwater and site lighting for properties located in B3, B4, and R4 zoning districts. All right, Peter, can you hear us?
Hey, John, I'd like to restart it.
Okay.
Start the system. I think we should.
All right, we're going to try to restart everything. All right, so I'm going to shut down. Take two.
Reboot. When in doubt.
It should have worked.
I'm just afraid they won't be able to hear anyone else talk.
Yeah,
Except for you.
Pass my computer around. Okay, recalling to order the February 6th, 2024 meeting of the North Andover Planning Board. So, Sean and Peter, can you hear me? Not noticing improvement.
Just making sure I've got the laptop settings turned off so I don't get interference.
We can hear
Yep.
Peter.
Peter, we can hear you now. Sean, can you hear us?
No, I don't seem to.
Well, we're out of practice doing this.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem. Is like it's the old saying is that once you start it, like stop a process, it's hard to start it back up, right?
So
It's
we
like
can
it's,
hear that.
it's like shutting down a plant and starting a plant back up. You know?
Peter,
Yeah.
Peter and
You don't
Sean.
use it every day.
Yep.
Not that I want to go back to what caused us to be adept at
All right,
this.
any
So
suggestions?
Peter and Sean, we can hear you now.
Yep.
But
Okay.
you can't hear us without the echo again, right?
I've got a tremendous echo. The good news is I can hear you now, but the echo is tremendous.
Anything now?
Oh, and Gene, the reason I can hear you now is I turned off my computer audio and I called in on my iPhone.
But can you hear us right now? No.
So we have a quorum.
Yeah.
Chris could be eligible to vote on a special permit if needed. This will be
Yeah.
both of their first missed meetings. You could watch the video and still be eligible.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the other option is we can put them on a conference call on speakerphone. Do you want to give them those options?
Keep them on the video.
Yeah. They can.
All right, so we're going to call you, have you on speakerphone, and keep the video going.
Okay?
Okay.
So you want me to hang up so you can call me?
Please. Two different phones,
No, let's try to do
You'll
it.
do both.
Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I know how to do that. Sean, can you hear us?
Yep, I hear you.
All right. I'm gonna try to add Peter, and we'll just do our best and see how this works. Hey. All right, I need Peter to answer. Maybe I got the wrong number. Gene, maybe I'm using the wrong number.
It's 203. Area code 203?
No, I'm using a 617 one, so. What do you got? I have the old work number.
You've reached the cell phone for Peter White. I'm sorry, I can't take your call.
Peter, your call's gone to voicemail.
Hi, Peter. Can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
All right. Let's see. I'm gonna try it now. Sean, are you on the line as well?
Yep.
Okay. All right. We're gonna try like this. I'm putting you guys in the middle.
Turn it up as far as you
Yeah, I did. I did. If you can't hear, just wave to us or something, and we'll just do the best we can. If we can't go forward like this, then we'll just do the meeting, and you guys will watch it afterwards. Okay.
Hey, Todd, can we get video of the room?
That's what we're gonna do. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So can we focus on the speaker and go from there?
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Brian Dundon. I am a civil engineer with R.J. O'Connell and Associates. I have with me tonight Mr. Jim Lamp from LT Development, representing the applicant, Market Basket, and also Jeff Fullerton from Intertech, who is our noise sound consultant.
Hold
What
on
I
a second.
thought it,
So are we able to get a video of the speaker rather than, are they able to see the?
we're having to look at it.
Okay, we're working on it, guys. The video is not working in general right now. Okay,
Don't spill.
all right.
What I thought,
Go
what
ahead.
I thought I would do tonight is provide the board with an update with respect to where we left off on our January 16th meeting
Nice.
with
Speak up.
with the status of the plans. In addition, during the public comment period, there was some comments that were generated as some noise off our noise complaints. We would like to take the opportunity tonight to address those comments and then also address any additional comments you may have. As a result of our January 16th meeting, we did receive in from the peer reviewer, Horsley Witten, on behalf of the town, their comment letter. We have revised our drawing plan set to address those comments, updated plans and associated stormwater management reports, and a response to comment letter was resubmitted to both the planning departments, conservation, and to Horsley Witten yesterday, both electronically and in paper format. In addition to addressing the peer reviewer's comment letter, we also received in additional comment letters, one from the fire department, in which Lieutenant Kilcoyne had a chance to review the plans as a result of our technical review committee meeting. The lieutenant requested some relocation and addition of fire hydrants along the storefronts, the tenant storefronts. We have revised the plans to accommodate the lieutenant's request, so that the number and locations have met with his approval. We received in a second comment letter from Walk Bike Andover agency or volunteer group, requesting that the redevelopment of the project integrate in both bike racks, bike routes, and pedestrian sidewalks. The plans that were resubmitted accommodate those goals. As we presented at our January meeting, we were proposing 2 interior sidewalks with connection to Route 114 to the tenant storefronts. In addition to that, the plans have been updated to show 2 bike rack locations right in the vicinity of Market Basket. We also received in a third letter, which was from the Board of Health, which echoes the comments that we received from the public at our last hearing in January about noise, specifically off our noise concerns that were raised. So tonight, what we would like to do is we've had a chance to kind of understand a little bit as to what the operational ongoings have been going at the shopping center. And Mr. Jim Lamp from LT Development here is to report on that tonight and the corrective measures that we will be taking, not only now, but going forward to further mitigate any noise inconveniences being experienced by the neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay.
Evening, Jim Lamp, professional engineer with LT Development. Really, this is just a follow-up to some of the commentary and discussions that happened at our last hearing. Gene was able to share with us an approval from 1998, which was the expansion of the old store where a condition of approval was hours of operation, which includes deliveries, sweeping, compactor use, basically anything behind the store, which the abutter who's here tonight had brought up were issues. We made phone calls to the manager, and I guess you would say the ball was dropped over the years, and there were deliveries at off hours, which we apologize for. But we have informed all the warehouses. We have gotten in touch with our vendors. We've talked to the store manager and assistant manager, as well as our maintenance folks, and reminded them of the hours of operation being between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. I think most of the noise complaints, and I'm sure the abutter can get up and discuss that, was for the off hours operations. We were hoping that there's been an improvement since the 19th, which is when we had most of those phone conversations. We also found out that the bread vendor that we've been using had been delivering early in the morning. That vendor was changed. It was mentioned at the last hearing that just prior to that meeting, things had gotten better as far as the deliveries of that. That vendor was changed a couple months earlier, and the new vendor delivers about mid-morning because they're coming from a different part of New England. We're hoping that the operations part has been addressed and will continue to be addressed. I will be giving the abutter the store manager's phone number and name so that he can contact them directly if there are any issues, so they can be addressed immediately versus going through the fire department or the public works department. I think a direct line of communication is probably the best way to go on this. We've also been working with Intratec to do some studies of the area in the back. We're working on, obviously we've talked about the enclosed loading docks. We're working on sound absorption panels that would be placed in those. We talked about the dairy dock, which is on the screen now, which is to the right side. There's a dumpster or compactor there, and a dock for dairy, which is typically just one delivery per day. That wall there will also be fit with sound absorption panels, and is to be higher than the truck and the compactor. We also mentioned in the last meeting that currently there are two compactors behind Kohl's directly adjacent to the abutter. Those have exterior motors, and those motors on the new market basket will be placed inside the building. So the hydraulic mechanism will be inside the building. That's where most of the noise from compactors come. We've done this at other stores where we're adjacent to residential units, and this has worked. Also on that graphic, you can see in blue the new rooftop units, and in gray the existing rooftop units for the Kohl's. You can see some barriers are placed around the blue units. The 6 in a row are the refrigeration units, and then there's smaller AC and heating units that will be screened as well. 4 of those we're proposing to screen, and the units have been moved as far away as they possibly can to give some distance between the abutter's property and the home. As I said, was mentioned, we have Jeff here to answer any technical questions, but we think we've done our best effort to try to mitigate any potential noise that would be coming out of this switch in the facilities.
Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
The 6 blue units were, if I understood the narrative correctly, they're described as screened. Screened with what? Screened for a visual screening or screened for acoustic or both?
Both.
And help me with this graphic. Gene, can you scroll a little so I can see the top of this graphic? There you go. So, so this is, okay, I get it.
The other The other thing we've done on this graphic to give you an idea of the elevations is we've used Google Earth in our surveys to kind of give you an idea of the top of the roof elevation, which is at 56, the ground elevation in the back of the store, which is between 31 and 36, and then the homeowner's first floor elevation, which is the street side elevation. They might have lower levels, but they're around 76, 78, and Waverly Road is around 78 as well.
So,
So you went through a list of things that we spoke about the last time. One of the questions I have, and I may have missed you mentioning it, is some type of acoustic wall on a portion of the hill behind the store. And we talked a little bit about examples where that has been done elsewhere. And I was under the impression that you or your engineer would be able to talk to us about that.
We had discussions regarding that issue, and that's why we put the elevations here. Sound works, and Jeff can correct me when I step on my own toes. It's almost a line of sight type thing, so having a wall at our property line would not be effective here because of the elevation of the homes. They're effectively 20 feet above the roof of our building. So to have a wall on our property line that would be effective, it would have to be massive. It would, in the 40, 50 foot range in height. So a wall at the property line does not work in our opinion.
And is your property line the red line?
Correct.
And what is the elevation of different points along the red line?
Roughly around the same elevation as the rear around, it goes up the hill. Obviously, the one that goes towards Waverly Road goes up the hill, but the one at the base is in the 36, 40 foot range.
So if the noise is coming from the sources of the noise towards the property, it looks to me like it's intersecting with that property line that's going up the hill more than the property line at the base. And if that's the case, a wall could go up your property line up the hill and still be modest height because your property line is going up the hill. Am I missing something?
Well, I think that you're probably getting into a point where to get up there, if you've been on that hill, we would have to take out all the trees in that area. We think that it's not the solution in this location. We also feel that the rooftop units are really not going to be an issue. These are going to be much more efficient. We were not able to get any of the sound readings from those rooftop units from Kohl's because when they make the most noises during the summer when the AC is working, and Kohl's will be shut down in the next month. But we did get on the roof and we got the unit numbers, models, and makes, and we're going to try to get the sound information from those units from the manufacturers and see what the existing noise is. We think we've by screening those rooftop units, I think we've addressed any issue with anything on the roof. So really what it becomes is operations, and I think that's more about our hours of operation than it is screen walls. But as I mentioned, we're providing screen walls at the loading docks for those. So
I take your point. Maybe I could just have a quick question with John Simons if he's there.
yeah.
So John, does this strike you as a situation then where, if we condition that the rooftop units be screened both visually and acoustic in an adequate manner, and we note what they're doing to provide acoustic enclosure for the loading trucks, and we note that they've got the compressor equipment inside, and we note the precautions for hours of operations, can we then have some mechanism like, we've done in many other cases now where we have a look back at different points? Yeah. How is it performing? The applicant's assuring us that this series of steps will address it. And is this something we would put in every 6 months? We would have an assessment?
I think that's exactly what we have to do here, and is to have look-backs maybe for a period of years every 6 months to see if what we think is happening, it happens. I mean, I think the applicant is making a good faith effort to fix the problem, but we won't be 100% sure. So if we have a chance to take a look at it after it's in operation, we could tweak it if it doesn't work perfectly.
And perhaps we could stagger this so that the 6 months intervals are based not necessarily starting from the time of operation, but rather hitting 2 periods of the year where, you know, for example, we want to make sure we're hitting the summer period where perhaps the AC units will be operating peak potential noise, that kind of thing. We could sequence the timing so that it makes sense for that, right?
Yeah, we can do that. I have a question. So the Board of Health mentioned the issue with the trucks idling and the noise before 7, and then you've told us about the different changes that have been made. The thing I worry about is, the bread truck vendor changed and things have gotten better, but we don't know if a year from now the bread truck vendor might change and it's someone who's local who drops off there first, you know, et cetera. So the question from the Board of Health was, is there a way to restrict access to the rear of the building overnight or when the businesses are closed, or is there a way to make it gated access or something like that so a truck like literally can't get in before 7 o'clock? Is that possible? Why or why not?
I just look at those type of things as being, you have to have the person go out, you have to open the gate, you have to close the gate, you have to have fire access. It would obviously have to be a crash gate. I'm hoping we don't have to get to that point. We're going to add more signage. The site plan has been adjusted on that. I don't believe there's any idling signs. We're going to be adding idling signs, you know, on the pavement as well as on the building. We could even turn off the reefer trucks during the winter. We can't do that during the summer, for obvious reasons. But you know, when it's cold out, we can have the reefers turn off their air conditioning units for the trucks. I do want to caution that you know, this site has been operating since 1968 as a commercial development. Some of these homes were built in the 80s, and we're going to do the best we can, but there's no panacea here. You know, it is a commercial operation that's adjacent to residential homes. I think the best thing to do is to have a clear line of communication between the abutters and the store operator who operates the site. Basically, our store managers operate and manage their own properties, and to have that clear line that, hey, you know, you have some deliveries, take care of it. Don't let it happen again. It's between 7 and 9 that they're able to operate. Is the best way to go. I'd prefer not putting gates and restricting access to fire and emergency vehicles.
So couple points, if I could, Eitan. Were you speaking first? That's
I was
fine.
gonna comment, and then if it's okay, if you follow up, if that's okay, Peter. So
Sure.
I understand, and I think, I mean, I'd like to hear from the abutters if they have some opinions about that. I lean towards what you're saying is the way to go, because I think it's probably easier to make more corrective changes as we go if they're necessary rather than requiring them. Because I think there are, I mean, we have automatic gates. I think there are ways to make it happen, but I have concerns. I do have concerns about fire, about emergencies, especially with stores of that size, about, you know, I do have some concerns about gates, but if we did go the way that you suggest and put up signs and there's, you know, plans and rules and regulations, and it's great if they're followed for 6 months, but after that, if they start to not be followed, it would be within our purview to bring it back and say, hey, this site plan is not working, we're gonna modify it. And things like a gate, things like other things like that would be, you know, in play. I mean, I think I kind of see it sort of like a medical thing. You try to do the least restrictive you can that's going to get the job done. So if this does it, great. And if it doesn't, I think we may be better off going in that way of being if we have enough. That was my point. Peter?
Yeah, thanks, Eitan. I agree with what you just said, and to the applicant's concerns, I think we can all appreciate the concerns. We want something here that works for everyone. You've been operating there for a long time. It's a valued commercial operation for the community. You know, I think we're of a mind to be supportive here, but the reality we're dealing with is we now have reports that despite conditions from our planning board predecessor, that it was operating outside of the bounds for a very long time. So we want to hear about clear lines of communications, but because of the operational track record, I think we have an obligation here to exercise a little more care than, quite frankly, we'd probably like to do. But we have that track record, so we have to be mindful of that. So I like, Eitan, your formula, and the one in talking with John, that we have periodic look backs to see how is it going, and then we have the opportunity for recourse, that if it's not working, then we have to go to some type of gate solution. Now, the applicant has raised a concern about fire response. We all have that concern. I would like to leave that to the fire department to give us their evaluation. They do have locked gates at points around town, and they have fire department keys to open those. That's not for me to say, that's for the fire department to say, but just suffice to say that that's how we can resolve that part of the question. So I agree with your approach, Eitan, and certainly want to be supportive here, but we have to be mindful of the operational record that, we've been advised of. Thanks.
Any other board member questions, comments at this point? Okay.
If I could add to
Yeah,
that, is that I'm not sure operations was aware of the issue, because
been a
my
long
understanding of where the phone calls went, we are talking a span of 25 plus years, and it got lost in the shuffle, the hours of operation. We even found some of the signs in the back had the wrong hours, and those have since been changed. So the ball was dropped. It clearly was dropped, and we apologize for that, and we're hoping to be more diligent going forward.
Well,
and
I think
we'll
the
do
good
whatever
part
we
about
can.
the good part about this is, one, I mean, it's going to be under construction for a period of time. We're going to be looking back, and our permits is going to be structured in such a way that there'll be requirements for the board and for the applicant to check in with each other and to hear and to learn about this. So before, in the past, we didn't really do these kind of things. It's really only been the last, I'd say, 5 years or so that we've put in these look backs. It used to be you got your permit and that was it. Go forth, have your permit, and it was only really if like a tremendous amount of complaints came forward that someone would go and say something to somebody. So we're trying to make it not more bureaucratic, but more in a way that there's more ongoing communication. Because I think that's the problem, is that there just needs to be, everyone needs to know, like you said, the store manager, they have to contact the store manager. Maybe we don't even have to hear about it, but at least everyone's got to be in communication, because otherwise bad feelings build up, ignorance builds up, people come and go that weren't involved, and things get dropped. So I think if everybody stays involved and has a time to check in, that tends to keep things more on track. Okay, all right. So in terms of the presentation, is there more that you want to add at this point?
That's about it. I think we have to go to the next hearing to talk about the response on the drainage and other items because of the time of the submittal. So
Okay.
we thought we'd discuss the sound and hear what had to be said on that.
Okay, Gene, are there any comments that came in by email? Okay, is there any public comments that anyone wants? We're not gonna, we're gonna open up to public comment, happy to take it, but we're not gonna decide anything today, correct? The next step would be waiting to hear back on the drainage comments. And if we're satisfied then with the drainage issues, and if we're satisfied with the sound issues, then we'd look at, when those things occur, then we'd be looking to make a decision. But, so, with that, do you guys want any public comment do you want to make today? Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
So sorry, I just wanted to ask the walk, bike, Andover stuff.
Yeah.
is that something you'll address at the next meeting as well? I know that you had put
I
into
didn't hear
your,
the whole question.
sorry, the walk, bike, Andover comments.
Yes, we believe we have addressed those with the revised plans. The recommendation was to integrate in pedestrian connectivity and bicycle accommodations for bikes. We have revised the plan to add bike racks to the center. They're on both, with the new planned location from Market Basket, there'll be a set of bike racks on the left-hand side and another set on the right-hand side, so we've evenly distributed the bike racks. And we already, I believe, they didn't have a chance to review the site plans, but we took care of pedestrian connectivity from Route 114 on the original set, where we do have 2 independent defined sidewalk systems from Route 114 to the tenant storefronts.
So I wonder though, right, I would love to see, you all present what changes you've made and address that, just because we did have some residents organize and make comments at the next meeting. Because I read their email, and they've not necessarily outlined what type of bicycle accommodations they'd like to see, but I'm not sure that bike racks alone are really what they meant when they were talking about bicycle accommodations. I'm wondering if there's more there, and I just think that it might be good to bring it forward, talk about what you've changed about the plans, and give a chance to address it. And
The only thing is, as much as I appreciate and want more connectivity and the use of bikes, I just don't see this as based on the tenants that they have and are going to have, I just don't see no one's going to take a bike to go grocery shopping. You can't carry your stuff back, or not a significant amount. I don't see people biking to go to Kohl's or maybe some of the restaurants. I just feel like it would, as much as the idea of making everything more bike friendly, I just don't see this as the shopping center to really hold their feet to the fire on bike connectivity, because I just don't see it as a legitimate. I think when we were talking about Royal Crest, even then I thought it was kind of a stretch, but given how much they're changing, let's at least try. This
Frankly, if
doesn't
you
seem.
want to do something to soften up traffic and make it better, you're far better served focusing on pedestrian stuff here at this location.
And public transportation, right?
Yeah.
Have the extra
But
Miva stop and stuff
nobody's
like
gonna
that.
ride their bike there. They take your life in your hands. It's just not gonna happen.
But even if you did, what would you be going there to do that you could have a bicycle? You can't.
Well, that's the problem.
It just doesn't seem like the type of stores that would necessarily cater to the traffic. I appreciate the sentiment from them, but I don't know.
Eitan?
Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
Sorry to interrupt.
No.
We seem to have, at least I've lost the video. Of the
Oh,
room.
sorry. We're trying to screen, go into the. Oh no, cam's out. Yeah, we're working on it.
I guess I don't know that I disagree. I don't know that, right, I'd love to see the plan be pulled up, talk about how you've addressed, because I also, I'm looking at their email, they're also not specifying specifically what they're interested in, right? They're saying bicycle accommodations. So personally, I would love to see you, put your plan, note where you've made changes for the public to hear and see, and potentially, make public comment if they want to, and for us to discuss. I don't necessarily disagree with your assessment, but I would love to see it sort of on the table as a discussion and on the record, to show what you've done to address it, because you have changed some things in your plan to address it.
Sure.
Right here?
Yes.
We added a bike rack, so this is Market Basket Dead Center. So bicycle rack points to here, and they have one at the other side as well. Right here is bicycle rack. Is there any opportunity to paint a bike lane anywhere on site to get people from 114 to the building?
If I may, let me review with the traffic consultant and see what the appropriate measures would be for quote-unquote integrating bike lanes or
Yeah.
bike sharrows
Yeah.
into the center.
So
I mean, I just have, safety is the number one thing, so if it's gonna be there, it's gotta be safe, because I just have tremendous fear of bicyclists staying in the lane, following those
Right.
rules, and also it being, I mean, you couldn't do it now because people drive diagonally, horizontally, vertically, this is gonna be much better with the way that the lanes are set up, where people are, pretty much just go vertically.
With streamlining.
But it's, I mean, I think it really has to overlap with the pedestrians. That's, again, I'm not a traffic engineer, but it seems like it would have to overlap with the pedestrians to have any type of
I
safety.
think you're right on. We've had sites such as this that are on busy streets, and if a cyclists were able to get here alive, I think once they get on our site, we have a 36-foot wide drive aisle in front of our store now, proposed. It's 30 now, and then it goes to 30 once it gets away from our store, because what happens is our customers end up parking on the curb even though they're not supposed to in the fire lane. So it's extra wide in front of our store. Bikes typically, once they get on site, will function as vehicles. They'll be going as at the same speed as vehicles on site because it's a much slower speed. So they'll use the lane as if they're on a motorcycle or car. And I think that really, to your point, not a lot of people are going to be out on 114 riding their bikes, and once they get on our site, I think it's pretty clear where they can't go. Trying to create multi-modal lanes, bike lanes and things like that, there's just not the space on this, and they won't get used. The bike riders will drive in the drive aisles in the lanes they're supposed to be driving in. If you want more bike racks, they're going to sit empty, but we'll do that to address the issues. But I think
Well, I think you could have two for now, and
the
if,
site is pretty good.
yeah, I mean, if we ever see them full, then we can address it at that point.
So,
Peter, go
Ethan, I
ahead.
have
Or
a
Sean.
question.
Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, so is there any proposed EV charging stations on the site?
I think they have
Given
to.
the size of the lot, I'm actually
We've actually been,
missed opportunity.
we've set up an area for future EV and put some conduit in that location. We do not do chargers ourselves. We've worked with companies such as EVgo. They were looking at this site in previous years, but unless they can figure out that there's a demand for them, we can't get those vendors here. But we've set it up. It's on the front or the middle southern side, I think. Gene, if you can pan out a little bit on the
Building
plan.
code requires them for new development, I'm not
Okay,
sure the retro.
okay, so that's what I was, because the building code requires them for new developments. I wasn't sure if they do.
But
for-
if you
for
pan out to
retro.
the southern front, if you come down or scroll a little bit, you'll see,
Well,
Well,
multiple.
we've set it up. We know that it can't, the power can't come from the back. It has to come from Winthrop Ave. And you can see them just at the top of the screen. There's about 8 stalls there that are set up for EV charging. But unless we have a vendor that's interested in going there, it's not something that we personally do.
Okay, I mean, I know I see Stop and Shop has them. They have, I think, 4 or 6. I know a lot of similar stores. I see the Tesla superchargers, so we don't have very many in our area, so reach out to them. I'm not saying that for my own personal gain.
What they do is they pick off the sites where they think that there's actually going to be activity. And,
Yeah.
And we have a lot that we throw at them and they say no. We're just not going to do it at that location. This one there is some interest, but it's not something we can guarantee. But we've set it up so that we can bring power across the road there, bring it over the creek, underground to that location, and set up all the charging stations.
Okay, great. Sir, come on up.
Gennady Etchin, 629 Waverly Road. I just want to thank you, Peter. Peter, thank you for thinking about us, little guys, but it's refreshing. I also have a question to you guys about the pavement. I thought last
Hey, why
time,
don't you ask the question here just so we can hear you, and then we'll.
last time I think they said about new pavement on the back of the shopping mall, which will supposed to reduce vibrations and some noise from the trucks. So if you can repeat that, that would be great. I might not catch everything last time. And also, when you talk about the walls, it's actually, the distance between the smallest corridor between property, residential property, and the mall structure is around 50 feet, plus minus 3. And in that corridor, when the truck goes through, that creates a noise. If you have a wall, the height the same, maybe a little bit higher than the building, that is not 50 feet, it's much less. It's just the height of the building plus extra 3 feet, maybe 4 feet, and that will reflect the noise from the building to the wall and out over the building. What you do with the screens around air conditioning units on the top, this is great. If you use the right materials, and I hope you do, then it will eliminate a lot of noise from those. But that is not the main concern of us. The main concern from the noise is, like you said, it's operational. Few nights, my son will talk about experience from the last week, maybe a couple more weeks, and what we experienced in that time period since last meeting. But that is operational stuff, and the trucks going in and out. When they will be docked, the truck will not be covered by those docks. They will be the truck itself, not the semi. The truck will be outside, and that is noise, the main source of the noise. Also, idling trucks, you said that it will be addressed. Great. Also, you said that we will have a open communication with the site manager, with the store manager. In the past, we had contacted not the site manager, but we had a contact with the main office, Market Basket main office, and we got nothing from them. So this is a concern you had, and it's exactly what we're saying. The history of the operations and response to needs of the residents is very low, in my opinion, and we have a track of that. From that point, I'd like to have my son talk about the noise through the past, since the last meeting.
Okay. We'll do that, and then we can talk about this sidewalk.
And Peter, thanks again. It's great to hear that.
Hi, Ilya Etchin, 629 Waverly Road. I also want to first start off by thanking the board. The questions that you guys have raised show that you guys are really hearing our concerns. It's very refreshing. It's something we haven't seen up until now. I actually also want to thank them. They have made some strides in fixing the situation. It's gotten a lot more quiet at night. Idling's gone down. However, it's not perfect. Woke up today to trash dumps are being slammed at 5:30 in the morning over by the liquor store. Their first truck of the day was at 6:10 this morning. So it's not perfect yet. As far as the rooftop ACs, they're not necessarily ever a problem unless they're broken. When they're broken, they're extremely noisy, but they usually fix them pretty quickly because they need them for operations. So the ACs aren't really the issues, it's mostly the trucks. As the gentleman said, our main concern is the nighttime noise. If we can do 7 to 9 and that's actually followed, that'll solve 95% of our problems, and we'll be happy with that. As far as the sound wall, I would definitely like to revisit it 6 months or so from then. Once they move in and we see how much actual noise there is, I'm okay with it not being, you know, a prerequisite of them doing the construction, but definitely something that we'd like to revisit if necessary. You guys clearly have a lot of, you know, control and power over things, and dealing with the building department and the health department, sometimes their hands are tied or it's not their department. So the afterwards, you know, getting action from them is a lot more difficult than it is dealing with you guys. So if we could have a look back period, once they get going, that would be really appreciated. You know, maybe it's not necessary with the things that they're about to implement.
Right, it could be, I mean, it could be that everything works out great, and there's, you know, a noise every once in a while, and there's nothing that needs to be done. It could be that, you know, is it that the hours aren't being followed? Well, then maybe the solution is more signs, maybe the solution is gates. There's a different solution depending on what, if any, problems there may be. So I think that's why it doesn't make sense to necessarily put everything up front, because it may not all be needed. But we do have those options later on, if and when there are.
Yeah, as long as we could leave those options open.
Yep.
Then, you know, we'll be satisfied.
Okay. I think that's a good idea.
I had something else I can't think right now, but yeah, that's pretty much it. As
Okay.
long as, you know, the 7 to 9 is actually followed. You know, last week, Lundy's and Coles got their trash dumpsters picked up at 6:30 in the morning. When Coles gets theirs, they have a blaring reverse sound because it's on a flatbed for a solid 20 minutes. So it's not fun waking up to that. You know, you hear a loud bang coming from Lundy's because they just dropped their dumpster, and then for the next 20 minutes, right when you open your eyes, you're listening to blaring reverse sounds. And
So my house sounds like it's 6:20 every morning. But that's probably my own fault.
You mentioned a gate. I did bring that up to the building inspector multiple times, and the feedback I got was it's a fire lane violation, so they can't do it. Okay. So I just want to bring that to attention. But other than that, we're very happy with most of the changes that they've made. And as long as we can go back to it if there's an issue down the road, then we're pretty happy right now.
Okay.
With what you guys have done.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Hey, Tom.
Yes, Peter.
I just had a thought about one potential addition here. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but in listening to the discussion and the description at the back of the store, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We're listening.
Yeah, in listening to the discussion about what's happening in the back of the store and the hill, you know, I can read the diagram, but I've never been in the back of the store. I don't know if the rest of you have, but, you know, every once in a while we do a site walk, and I'd actually like to see the back of this store and see the geometry here, the topography. I'd just like to see it before we make a decision.
Yeah, I mean, I've been back there. I'm not sure now. I don't think we need to do a site walk, but I'd say like an official meeting one. I know. I'm not sure that I have time. Yeah, I think next time you're shopping there, take a peek would be my suggestion.
Anytime any of you want to visit our property, just come in.
Okay, I mean, I know that's what I did for like, for the Avalon one. I just, went to people's houses when they had time, and we walked around and stuff like that. So if you can leave your information with Gene, and then if anyone wants to. I just say, I think we can leave the abutters can leave their information with Gene, and if someone wants to just at least see from their property, or can just go on the back, I'm sure that's fine, just to go anytime except not between 7 and 9.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just to address the issue that was brought up about the pavement.
Yep.
We're gonna reclaim all pavement on the site, so all the pavement in the back is gonna be new. There's gonna be curbing on the back to keep trucks, within the paved areas. One of the issues we have there is we have a lot of drainage coming off of Waverly Road and down the slope, and there's been some issues with catch basins being clogged and things like that. But we think DPW is on top of that, and what we're going to do is we're putting an under drain there, because we have the drainage comes across and it degrades the pavement, creates potholes. When trucks hit potholes, they make more noise. So we're hoping that this will have that settled too. We're going to put an under drain, French drain basically on the back of the curb that will keep any water from coming over the curb and onto the pavement and then degrading the pavement over time.
Okay, very good. All right, so what's our next meeting date, Gene?
February 20th.
Okay, so why don't we continue to February 20th? If we have everything in order, then we can have a decision at that time. And so if we think everything will be in order, we'll have a draft decision hopefully for the agenda, right? That way people know that that's what we're going to try to do, or you think it's going to be too tight?
I could try, if people do visit the site and have more deliberation, I
Then we
just
can
can't
always-
anticipate it,
Yeah, we can always amend that. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, very good. So we'll continue until February 20th. Appreciate everyone's work on this.
Thank you.
Discussion items, yeah. 492 Sutton Street, Tango Hotel LLC. Request for a waiver of site plan review to allow for construction of 4 prefabricated buildings for a total of 24,690 square feet. 2 of the proposed hangars will be T hangars encompassing 13,730 square feet and providing storage for 10 airplanes. And the other 2 proposed hangars will provide 10,960 square feet of indoor maintenance space. The proposed location is within the I-2 zoning district. Hi.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Don Bornstein. I'm an attorney for the applicant. My office is Johnson & Bornstein. We're located at 12 Chestnut Street in Andover.
Okay, so first issue is an issue of, let's say, statutory construction. It's not clear from our bylaw that you have the ability to request a waiver when building new buildings. It looks like, and Jean and I kind of discussed this earlier, and she points it out in her staff report, which I'm just going to go to. And which should be in my email. Hold on. Jean, do you have the language handy?
Yep.
For the waiver?
So as you know, what TRIP's site plan review to start was construction of any building which contains more than 2,000 square feet of gross floor area is undertaken on land within the town. As you know, it's approximately 25,000 square feet of the area being proposed. The zoning bylaw does allow for a provision for site plan review waiver for developments which require site plan. When it's the opinion of the planning board, the alteration or reconstruction of an existing structure or new use or change in use will not have a significant impact on both within the site in relation to adjacent properties and streets, pedestrian, vehicle, all the other impacts that a site plan can have. And so, again, the technical read here is the alteration or reconstruction of an existing structure. What's being proposed is for new structures.
So that's issue 1, whether it qualifies. Issue 2, I guess I'm going to, 25,000 square feet, 4 hangars. We do have 1 resident comment that's opposed. A little.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
it's
I
a
was
little.
going to say, we've probably over the years done 10 projects of similar size at the airport, and everyone through site plan review. So why would you not put this through site plan review?
It does seem like it's a little much. Like if you had 1 hangar and you were already there and you were changing the use of it from airplanes flying out to something that was less, like now it's going to be maintenance or something like that, where it was clear that the use was a mitigating use, then I could see a waiver. I just don't know that this would be appropriate for a waiver.
The thing about it is this is not that big a deal. Submit an application. It's not going to take that long to get done. So I don't know.
Hey, John, I'm having a hard time hearing you. I can hear Eitan, but
What
I'm having
I
a hard
would
time
say,
hearing John.
Peter, on top of sort of this not being our practice ever, it's like this is the kind of thing you can do fairly quickly. I mean, it's not like it's super complicated and requires an enormous amount of work and complexity. These usually can get done in 2 meetings. So we're not talking about a lot of time here. So, I mean, for that reason as well, I don't see why we would want to waive.
This is an additional activity, right? These are planes that just sit unprotected today that in the future would be within hangars, right?
Sure, and in response to those
ahead.
two questions, we also did want to use this evening as an opportunity to give you a little bit of a preview of what this project is. It's a little
Okay.
unusual. It doesn't fit perfectly into the site plan review process under the bylaw.
Okay, so that would be, that preview's good.
It doesn't surprise me that the board would be a little skeptical about waiving the entire process. And I may have done the last hangar construction before this board many years ago. But what we did want to do is give you a little preview of the project. So what's going on here, and if maybe, Gene, if we go to one of the aerials, maybe this either 3 or 6 of the exhibits, just to give you a sense of where we are in the airport. So the project is to put in 4 hangars. 2 of those would be T hangars. T hangars get their name because they have a T shape in them that allow for basically airplanes to have individual garages in these buildings. So you can see here we're in the section of the airport. If the aerial photograph continued a little bit further, we'd be on Sutton Street. Down there, you can see the section of right in the middle of the photograph now where you see those planes in that tie-down exterior storage area. So that's where the hangars are proposed for. So there'd be 2 different T hangar buildings. One would have 6 slots, so 6 aircraft would be able to go in that. The second has 4 slots. And Gene, maybe go to that first page of that exhibit.
Can I ask a question? Who's Tango Hotel LLC? That's not the airport, right?
Correct.
That is an individual LLC that rents space from the airport or buys that? Like, how does it work with the space, the ground space, and then when you put in a hangar such as this, who owns it? And do you, like, if Tango Hotel wanted to leave, would they be able to take the hangar with them? Is it airport property? How does that actually work?
Yeah, and Gene, it's number 2 is probably exhibit 2 will give us.
I would assume it's a
short on
ground
the
lease,
ground.
but I'm just not ever sure with airport property, if it's leased, if it's rented, if it's owned, how that actually works.
Sure, and I'll take one step back. So as the board had some technical difficulties at the beginning of the meeting, the project team on this project had some technical difficulties. The principal, Mark Scott, he's principal of Falcon Air, who's a longtime operator, provides maintenance services at the airport, is the principal of Tango Hotel, Tango as well. And the project engineer, Dennis Gricci with Andover Consultants. Andover Consultants has also done various work in the airport over the years. Neither of them were able to join me tonight at the last minute. One had a conflict. One got a test result that prohibits them from coming to a meeting, or should anyhow. So that brings me here to explain to you what we have going on there. So the general situation for construction at the airport is the City of Lawrence has the Lawrence Municipal Airport Board. They control the airport property. My client, Tango Hotel, principal Mark Scott, has a commitment from in essence, the Lawrence Airport Authority to land lease a piece of the ground.
Yep.
You can see the outline. It's kind of a funny trapezoid shape, but on the screen now you see that dashed line that's sort of yep, you're following it, Gene.
Yep, okay.
That's the land lease space that the airport commission has committed to Tango Hotel, to Mark Scott. There's the municipal permitting process that this is part of here tonight, and then there's also an FAA process that basically that the airport mostly handles, and that's in conjunction with Mark Scott and Tango Hotel. So the FAA makes sure that this space isn't going to interfere with air traffic. The Municipal Airport Authority rents the land out to the operator. The operator puts the improvements on. It's a lengthy land lease. I don't know exactly what happens to the improvements at the end of that land lease many years from now.
Yeah, okay.
But that's the general circumstance there, and that's the way I think many of those hangar structures, that's how they exist. Mr. Scott has hangar space there now. He provides maintenance services principally, and he also operates Falcon Air. His principal client and one of the drivers behind the maintenance hangars are the med flights that are run out of the airport, very important service for the area. They are looking for more maintenance services from Mr. Scott. So he would be using, in essence, those two maintenance hangars principally for throughout his maintenance building, but his primary client is the med flight services. The T hangars, which are the bottom two on the screen, they're a little bit more rectangular shape. Those would hold, I believe, one holds 6 and one holds 4 airplanes. Those would allow those planes that you see parked out on the tied down out in the tarmac, they'd be able to be stored inside. So these buildings would displace a good amount of that outdoor storage. So this proposal is not designed to really attract additional traffic to the airport. It's to allow existing traffic to have indoor storage and to allow more space for maintenance. So that's the primary target of this.
And the buildings are prefabricated, so they just get kind of placed?
Yeah, so the existing asphalt remains in place. You've got prefab steel buildings. You've got some cut sheets and some specifications and plans in your package on those. We'd certainly go into more detail on exactly what those buildings consist of in a formal site plan process.
Yeah.
Some of the site plan process doesn't necessarily translate well to this. It asks for a drainage study. We're not changing the impervious area at all, so we're putting roofs on top of existing asphalt, so we're not going to increase impervious at all. We're planning to use existing stormwater infrastructure, so there wouldn't be new stormwater proposals in connection with this. The site plan bylaw has a landscaping plan requirement. The landscaping plan obviously would be very minimal here. There would be no landscaping associated with these buildings, but it also calls for a plan of all the existing landscaping in the area. And since this is a lease, this is a very small lease plot on a much larger parcel.
So,
there's a little question of how that applies.
We often waive some of the specific conditions of a site plan. We just don't waive the whole site plan.
Right. So it seems to me, I agree. I don't think you need landscaping. I don't think you need anything as to traffic. There's not going to be any additional traffic. Drainage, I think I'd like to. We've had a lot of stuff at the airport with questions of drainage. I mean, I think we just did the homegrown, and we had a whole giant discussion about drainage. So I think I'd like to see drainage. But other than that, I'd say just talk with Jean about what you think is necessary, what she thinks is necessary, and what's not necessary.
I think with the drainage, we would have the town engineer peer review
Right.
that, because it's an existing
Yeah.
drainage system to
Yeah.
existing catch basins. But as you said, I mean, just a detailed waiver request as part of the narrative of the application, because we'd want the fire department certainly to see a swept path analysis. There's enough components that I think the board needs to review in order to approve it, so.
So as I'm hearing that, so a stormwater report that would really focus on
It's more like a narrative, just.
what's out there,
the-
how this will
exactly.
how this will
How
utilize
it's going
it.
to travel and what structures it's going to.
Yeah, and maybe the traffic focus is really on emergency vehicle access. Yeah, and we already have, there's a lot of access lanes that are requirements of the airport, so I
And
suspect
there may be
those would
parking
be-
requirements for the people coming to use their aircraft.
Yep.
So where they're going to park, things like that, like whatever's material. Other than that, request a waiver.
Okay, very good. No, I'm familiar with that waiver provision.
So yeah, I mean, I agree with John. I don't think it's a heavy lift, but I think there's enough there that a waiver wouldn't be appropriate. But it's good to get a sense of it from tonight. So I think that'll make the process go smoother as we go through the site plan review. And I don't think it would take a long time to do that.
Okay, any other questions or concerns that sort of pop out when you first see this this proposal?
It's just interesting to me how much activity we're seeing at the airport. Like, I think in the previous 4 years, I don't think we had like almost anything at the airport. And in the last year or so, there's been a couple projects at the airport. So
We've had a TRC meeting on additional project, adding more hangars at the north ramp, so on the off a Holt Road end of the airport. So you may see that in the near future too.
I mean, my general question, sort of about the airport, ties into, long-term and strategically, like, what's the maximum capacity of the airport? What kind of interesting economic activities can you leverage? I mean, is there like I've always thought an opportunity for very high value manufacturing, just in time kind of things. very, bespoke kind of stuff. I mean, again, I don't know, I may be, totally crazy about that, but it would be interesting to know, because it's an incredibly important facility, I think, and even though it's run by the city of Lawrence, it benefits North Andover, so it'd be nice to know what some of the possibilities could be.
Yeah. Okay, very good. So hopefully we'll see you back soon with a site plan request.
Yes, I believe we'd be hoping to file by the end of the month, which would get us on your early April agenda? Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
Do you want a motion to not approve the waiver request?
No, I mean,
or-
it's just,
You're fine,
it's
okay.
just a discussion item,
Yep.
so I think we're okay. Okay, very good.
All right, thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. All right, potential citizen petition warrant article, James Warden, Historic Barn Overlay District, the HBOD.
Eitan, I need to recuse myself, and I'll leave the table and go around to sit next to James.
Okay. Oh,
Virtual.
I left my cardboard cutout of Peter at home. It'd been great to bring him in. All right, good.
Thank you, James Warden, 84 Academy Road. Gene has we're calling a draft outline of the citizens petition, and we had a couple support letters from neighbors come in.
Okay.
So we're excited about where it sits, and would definitely want your advice where we go next. I think we obviously have to make the outline more real, because it's very drafty, but we're feeling good about where it's going, and make the description of the activity the right amount limiting. And we've had a lot of thoughts about different ways we could go with it, but we'd definitely like your advice on that. Any particular wording or angle we might suggest. We even thought about, does it make sense to expand it to the old center, because there's a bunch of other barns around, and like the Linehan barn used to have some kind of a.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that is, I think deciding what the overlay district would include is actually relevant, because you don't want to exclude somebody and think you're favoring one person at the benefit of another. And maybe there's not anything to worry about, but you ought to at least think a little broadly of the scope of it, and, just.
So how do we do that, John? Like, how?
I mean, I'm not sure there are any, but I was just thinking, like, okay, the Historical Society has their barn, right? The one on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's all renovated and it's owned by them, but I just don't know. Maybe you mimic the old center district, maybe that's the way you do it. I don't know, rather than just Academy Road, maybe the whole old center district. I'm just thinking out loud here.
I mean, the Historical Society, we do retail activity in that barn, so
Yeah.
I don't know if that's allowed, but yeah,
So a question I would have, well, a couple questions that come to mind. Let's say we did the whole old center, or the, historic, village district.
Whatever the district is, the old center is.
But how would that then work with the permits you're required to get for old center and things like that? Would you have to get those as well?
Yeah, it wouldn't supersede that.
So, I mean,
But
probably.
we'd have that problem anyway.
Right, but do we want their feedback then? Is it something that?
Well, the thing that we've required in this draft is nothing is happening outside the walls, period. So if any restoration's happening, like we wrote down at Paul's to try to put in the application, for permits, and that's when this thing kind of came up. We wanted to, put historically appropriate replacement windows and fix stuff, and of course that has to go through historic district, old center, because it's visible from the street, or less than 400 feet, whatever the rule is. But
And it's not, and doesn't include retail, right?
no, definitely no retail allowed.
I'm just trying to think if there would be anything that would allow, that would be a problem, if it's just a use within your home, basically, if there would be anything. Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm trying to think if there would be any issues if it's just a use that's basically within your home, right, or your garage. I just got to think about that. Okay, so I mean, I think the next steps really are putting this into language for a zoning amendment, right? So like making, I mean, I would ask really that you work with Gene in making this into a zoning amendment. So this tells the story of what you want, but a zoning amendment has to specifically say, you know, this is the area and refer to it on the map, and then these are the uses that are allowed, these are the uses that are not allowed, and there's certain language that we kind of basically use when making a zoning amendment.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest concern is it definitely needs a definition section, because
Right.
what is technological innovation? I mean, it doesn't prohibit flammables and hazardous waste. It's, I think we really have to kind of nail down what is and isn't allowed.
Okay.
And then it indicates that there'll be no traffic coming or going or parking, but somebody's going to come and go to work in the barn. And
Right.
somebody's going to park there, so that has to be accounted for. And Eitan, to your point, like every bylaw has the establishment, the purpose, the intent, the boundaries, the definitions, the special permit requirement, so there's a lot to flesh out in terms of
We were
getting
actually
it
going to
done.
build a subway system under the whole of Academy Road so you
Okay.
could reach all the barns, but we have one at 84. But to
So I
get
think,
more
so
barns-
yeah, definitions are going to be key. So it looks like you come with a historic barn definition, so that's good. But I think to Gene's point, like, limited use for historical barns in districts tend to include activities such as technological innovation. So what does that mean? Research. What kind of research are we talking about? Craft work, things like that. Yeah, or artist work. Okay, so yeah, I mean, so I think kind of definitions and then just kind of putting it into that format that Gene's talking about. So I would just encourage to set up a time with her to meet to kind of see how we've done, you know, zoning bylaws in the past, and it's just so that it melds well with ours. And then to John's point, trying to look at the actual geographical area that it would cover, and then how we write it as an overlay, because if we're making it as an overlay, we'd have to kind of say you can choose to use this, or you can
Yeah,
choose to
yeah.
use, you know, so how we have certain language for what we call an overlay district, right? So this is going to be in a district that already exists. Doesn't mean there would only be specific instances where you would use this specific bylaw, but at that same time, you wouldn't be using another bylaw. We don't need any height or anything like that, but I mean, I think we'd have to say that there can't be changes to the exterior of buildings, and really no room for, I mean, I don't think you would make any, I don't know if it's significant but there really shouldn't be alterations to the building
I
itself.
think if they are, they just follow the normal processes,
Right.
because that's the intent
You
is.
could just basically say, either edit or not, that it has to comply with all
All other zoning
Okay.
requirements.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also, you know, no change to any parking areas, or, you know, that also helps to restrict paving.
Well, right, or, I mean, but, I mean, you could do it to the extent that it complies with the current
Old center
zoning,
store district.
right? So like, if you could pave your driveway and add 4 parking spaces, you can pave your driveway and add 4 parking spaces.
Right.
As long as you're already allowed to do that now, right? Then as long as you're within the zoning rights that you have now and not adding more other than allowing for this specific use within this specific building. I think that's the key.
So we should call out, follows Old Center District Commission requirements fully, something like
Yep.
that. Are there some kind of draft or examples that you would have that we could kind of use as a template for all this? Okay, that would be really
Yeah,
helpful.
so definitely, but I think these things work best, I think, if you like set a meeting and sit down with Gene and like go through it, and then you can get stuff via email and use templates and stuff like that. But I think it works best to actually sit down and kind of go through and redline and things like that.
Yeah, I'll put my thoughts down on paper that you can
Yeah.
work off of. But there's a specific nuisance provision in the medical marijuana bylaw that it's a paragraph long, and it would be exactly what you'd need here too.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's going to be bits and pieces from different things.
Yeah.
So that's where kind of the
I
expertise
try
is
not to
helpful.
reinvent the wheel, but I
Right.
think it will be kind of meshing a lot of the other articles in the zoning bylaw to comply.
Right.
So,
Right. Taking a lot of different wheels. Okay. So I think it's a good start, and the letters is that's good that neighbors are in support.
And I think it's a starting point, because to John's point, that was my other concern, only Academy Road. I mean,
Right.
there's 3 barns, I think, that could apply.
4.
4, but the old center certainly has
Yeah,
it.
if you
So
do it
doesn't
that way,
Farn.
then it's a logic. I mean,
Farnham-
the more I think about it, that's the ideal way to do it, because it's
Yeah.
already defined, we've already looked at it. and-
As a starting point, but out Salem Street, there's other
Yeah.
historic barns, Barker
Yeah.
Farm, like, it's just,
And
it's broader, and I think we could expand it piecemeal
Yeah,
potentially
exactly.
if we hear feedback that they want to be included.
Yeah.
But for now, I think expanding it to at least the old center
So that
is better.
So I agree with that, Gene. I like you said, I immediately thought Johnson Street, Salem Street. Like, I think they're definitely places that this would
Yeah.
be equally beneficial and equally not invasive, but
And in a
until,
lot of
until we see it
cases-
running and until we see someone saying, hey, this is great, or hey, this isn't working,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to expand too much.
In a lot of cases, we want them to improve the exterior, so
Right.
it's not that we want to, prevent that, because we want them to maintain it and keep these in existence as long as we can. And so I'd rather encourage upgrading as long as they comply with all other zoning requirements.
Okay. Right, and this might be the funding they need to do that.
Right.
Okay, all right,
So I just set up to meet with Gene and we go from there.
keep going.
And
Okay.
what's our schedule or date? Like, when do we have to have this final? And
With me, but I
does
think
anyone need to see this again, or do we just make sure it's right with Gene and we put
Well,
it
you're gonna
wherever?
need,
it doesn't hurt to touch base, but there's a
Right.
citizen petition deadline. I think it's March 11th, but don't hold me to that.
so check with the town clerk when
You
the
need to have
deadline
it
is.
in for
That
that
means
date.
you have to have it, it needs to be in pretty close to final form, but it doesn't have to be in its final form because we can amend it through the hearings process.
Only if you're going to take it over and
If,
sponsor it.
right, if we're gonna take it over and sponsor. it.
Otherwise, it goes in exactly how it's presented.
But it could be amended at town,
Yep.
at town meeting too. But you need to have by that early March date, you need to have the signature, you need to have a pretty good draft because you need to get the signatures on it and submit those signatures of registered voters to the town clerk's office.
Oh, on March 11th.
I don't know the
Okay.
date, but by that early March date, you have to have the basics of the petition. I would talk to the town clerk for what exactly you need, because I don't know if it's a summary or if it's the actual language, but you need something to present to and get signatures from voters on. And you need to have that in and submitted.
No, is our plan is that you guys would adopt it or support it, right? So-
Correct, but we need it to start as a citizen petition.
Okay.
Or I think that's the preferred way to go about it, is it to start, because it really is coming from citizens, not from us. And then once you have those 10 signatures and submit it to the clerk, we can have some hearings on it, and then assuming the board comes to a bylaw that we think is workable, then we could take it up as something that we would support and propose. But I don't think we have the ability to do that yet. And I
Till
would
it's
say-
done.
I'd say make it a citizen petition first, and then we can take it. We've done that in the past.
And it is March 11th, so there's the calendar. It's March 11th
Oh.
is the deadline.
So then you guys would see it after that time, and then
Yep, hopefully we see it before and after.
March 12th?
Yep.
On the planning board public hearing, March 12th, March 19th, okay.
This would have to be renoticed in the Tribune, and a new public hearing would open. So the one that opens on February 20th has already been noticed by statute.
This
So
is just for other ones, for ours. That, you know,
So how would it, so that's already been noticed, so we can't make that meeting?
right, you're going to have to notice it again.
Yep. So
Yeah,
really
Well, because if we have another citizen petition we don't know about,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we have to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So, I
We-
mean,
we
there is
could-
a, you don't have to do it this early. We just like to do it this early so we have more time to sit through it and make changes.
But we probably shouldn't wait until near March 11th.
No,
So-
you should-
I would get it in by the beginning of March at the latest.
Agreed. You should because in case there's, let's say you get 15 signatures, but 6 of them can't be verified, then you need more signatures. So if you need 10, get 30.
Get
you know?
30, yeah.
But you want to have you want to have it ready and those signatures in by the beginning of March, just to make sure everything's submitted, and then it could go to the Tribune, and then we can take it up in March, and then we can have additional hearings in April as well. Okay?
Thank you.
All right?
I'll put it all on paper.
Okay.
I'll draft a much more detailed outline.
I was scribbling everything.
Yeah, it's just,
Okay, thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, James.
Off to the races.
Thank you, Peter. All right, Peter's going to move
Peter's
back.
gonna walk
Okay.
back around.
Yeah.
I'll rejoin the board.
All right. Potential Andover Street, Elm Street Lane addition update. Looked like there was an update in the, in your memo, Gene,
Yep.
that the Merrimack engineer is discussing it with the state and is gonna
yep,
provide us feedback.
yep, it's confirmed that he will report back both the favored concept as well as what they evaluated. They don't have it done yet, but they'll touch base when they do. I also spoke with Merrimack, and the third lane addition continues to be an important initiative to the college. And they, VHB and Mass DOT, continue to meet about the concepts and process. So they're working on it, they'll come back. It's just gonna take a little bit.
Okay, great. Establish
Gene, thanks for following up on that.
Establish subcommittee to review existing permitted uses and potential new permitted uses for various zoning districts.
All right, so this topic came up when we were presenting the draft MBTA communities, where we had introduced a few new uses like distillery, brewery, winery, artist studio, makers type use.
Yeah.
And you had suggested maybe we should put those in other zoning districts, and although I agree, it's just too big to mix in with this potential warrant article, and so it was suggested that maybe a committee start to go through all the uses in each district and either add, delete, modify, whatever seems appropriate to present for the following year's town meeting.
Okay. Who would you suggest, would you suggest that just be a planning board subcommittee, or would you suggest that there be other people involved, or could we just call other people
In as
needed?
I think that would be appropriate.
Okay.
Because we'd want to talk probably to some local attorneys, local business people,
Yeah.
but as, one-offs, I think.
So maybe 2 members of the board and yourself, and, any other
Yeah,
planning staff?
Actually, staff planner, that I believe was at a meeting a few months ago, so Zach Melcher.
Yeah.
I would definitely have him on this committee.
Yeah.
I'll support it, but I'd like him to kind of play the lead as the planner.
Okay. Does anybody have particular interest in being a member of this subcommittee? I assume the subcommittee would meet offline. Would it be a public meeting?
I don't think it would need to, I'll confirm that, but I just consider it a working group.
Okay, so that's the difference between a working group and it's a subcommittee.
Yeah.
Like a subcommittee would actually have meetings and agendas and things like that. If it's just a working group, it
Yeah.
would be separate, so
Yeah.
more a working group?
Yeah.
John?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have an interest? Nope?
I wouldn't have time.
Okay, I do.
Okay,
I do.
okay, so
Senator, can I make a comment?
Sure, why not?
District, zoning district.
Sure, come on up. Well, it's just discussion item, sure, what the heck?
Melinda Perone, 65 Meadowwood Road. I do have a question about the 2 development districts along Salem Turnpike. Pull them up
Which
here.
ones?
continuing
The CDD?
CDD 1 and CDD 2.
Yes,
Yep,
exactly.
Commercial Development District.
Yeah. The CDD one is primarily in wetlands. So, and 189, which is the top of today's lineup, is having difficulties because it's a wetland.
Yeah.
If you look at CDD 2, it is primarily wetlands as well. So, can we have, can I have just some explanation?
Well, I think you have to look at where the land is first and the existing uses of the land, because you really need to understand a little bit the historical context of how we ended up with those things, because this was a discussion of, like 10, 15 years of discussion before we ended up with these districts. And everything that you've said is a fair assessment. The problem is we were dealing with properties that were along a major highway, they were legacy single-family houses, but the problem was they're small lots, they don't go very deep, they're close to the road, and on the other side of the street, they're close to another additional residential district, so that we were really struggling to find a set of commercial uses that would work, given the constraints that are there, and that's what we ended up with. And it's not perfect, and it does limit the ability to do certain things that some people wanted, but what we didn't want to have happen was every single one of those lots becomes their own business, and we have 20 business curb cuts. So that's really the way we ended up with it. I mean, I could sit down and explain sort of some of the background. Part of what we might want to do is step back and see if it worked, and, and do we want to modify it for the future? That's always a legitimate thing to do. But it was, one of the things that we also tried to encourage was that businesses run out of existing properties, so that, which has happened to some degree.
I'm sorry, could you repeat
The
that?
businesses run out of existing properties so that you didn't have to tear them down, repave them completely, and put something else. The houses could be repurposed
You
for
could
another
use
use.
a house used for a salon or a
And that's
child care
what has
center,
happened
or
in
the
some
chimney,
cases.
the chimney guy.
Dog groomer.
Dog groomer. So we have made some changes to the CDD over the John kind of gave you the history, and it was working to an extent, but there were, so we've made some changes to the to some of the setback requirements and some of the other requirements, and we've been a little more forgiving in what kind of uses.
I think the vision was to consolidate these lots. And
That it was,
so
and
that
not.
it become developable, and it's already developed. So you're speaking of wetlands, but these are all pre-existing for the most part. I know there's a couple parcels that haven't been developed yet, but for the most part, it's a developed stretch of 114 that the vision was somebody would have to purchase maybe 3 of the lots, combine it, and then do a commercial development.
I mean, the interesting thing is the fact that the lot where we thought there was most development potential was the lot, not on your side of the street, but on the other side of the street, right by Hillside Road there, right hugging the corner of Hillside Road. And they, Minicucci, as much as they tried, have not been able to get anybody.
What happened? I thought they got we went all through that permitting.
Yeah, we went all through that, and
I
they
thought it was going to be
cannot get
a
anybody.
coffee shop.
Yeah, they could not get anybody to do it, and I don't know if that's the property that's going to be taken by eminent domain. I think it's possible that it's some of those houses right there that are the ones that are going to be taken.
Across the street, it was predicted that 3 of them would be taken. Theirs, I think, is impacted, but not necessarily the entire lot, but it's impacted.
Yeah, I think it's half the lot at the corner,
Yeah.
that far lot, yeah.
I mean, I think the point of this subcommittee is not necessarily, as I see it, to change zoning districts. It's more to see what uses are appropriate and either should be taken out or added. Like, for instance, when we were doing the overlays in the mills, every time that there would be a new use you have to come back and say, okay, we want a barber shop, or we want to allow for a professional for a physical therapist, and we'd have to do it piecemeal to kind of look at these zones and say, okay, yeah, this zone, it really makes sense to allow and change for how demographics have changed and how kind of the needs of the town have changed, to say, okay, maybe, first floor retail is okay here, or maybe in use of a maker space is okay in this area, but it's not going to be something that we think should change in this area. These areas we want to keep as just residential, things like that. Kind of to see how things have changed since, and each of these zoning districts has been put in at a different time. So to try to clean some stuff up and to see what uses may be more universal or able to be put in different places.
And there's new uses.
And new
like
uses that have.
breweries and
Right.
co-worker space and things like that we don't account.
Some of those uses might fit under an existing heading, some of them may not, and,
I think my biggest concern with that area, and I've been working with the DPW, is the trash and dumping. And to Ms. Wilkins' point, they're going to be making if the Route 114 development goes through, or improvement goes through, there'll be a shared use path going through there. And I don't know if any of you have walked on Salem Turnpike Street recently. I don't know if your insurance is good enough. But it's just, that section is just foul right now. And if you think about it, Mosquito Brook is going straight through there. So my concern is it's coming, that shared use path is coming. And I just want you to keep that in mind. If you're looking at that district, there's some beautiful wetlands in there. But right now, they're just kind of being ignored, and they're within that district. So
Okay.
that's my point.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so Gene, you'll set up time that you, John, and I can kind of start working on that. Okay, great. All right, can we get a motion to approve the meeting minutes from January 16th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Chris, you in favor? Yep, I saw his hand. Okay.
You have to do roll call.
Oh, roll call vote. I forgot. Chris, you are you?
Aye.
Aye.
Gemma?
Aye.
I vote aye. Sean? He's thumbs up. Peter?
Aye.
Okay. I'm glad this sort of worked out and you guys were able to hear and participate, so I appreciate that. All right, can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion made by Peter, seconded by John. All in favor? Sean, thumbs up. Peter?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
John? Gemma?
Aye.
I vote aye. All right, adjourned.
All right.
Good work.
Yahoo! Party on.